And Caleb Mir is wastes no time in complaining about that because he calls it propaganda for the Federation. Shut up! I just wanted to I wanted to make him feel not good. The U.S.S. Dingwall has been tasked with resolving a very minor dispute between two colonies that no one has ever heard of. Unfortunately, this means we had to leave Starbase 26 totally undefended. Which is bad, because there is a gigantic and definitely evil, spiky, angular alien ship cloaked just off the side of Starbase 26. Come, let's away! That's the name of the current episode of Starfleet Academy. This is episode 6. We're over halfway through. Usually when we get past the halfway point, I start being able to call it. Call it. Is this season good or bad? Call it. I don't really want to say yet. So far, nothing's really wowed me. I would even venture a guess that, nothing has been even really great. Passable has happened, but there's been a lot of bad. What do I think about this episode? I seem to have an opinion that may be in the outlier here. I usually don't look up what anyone else is thinking about an episode, but I had a strange feeling with this one, because I kind of liked it. I thought it was alright, and lo and behold, I'm in the minority opinion on this. Because I have a few opinions about this episode that are derived from a meta-narrative that is operating kind of below the surface here. A meta-narrative with regards to who is fighting who and why, and who is competent and who is incompetent. If you're loving Starfleet so far, and you want to see them win, you're not getting it here. If Starfleet is bothering you here, and you want to see them lose, you're kind of getting it. Am I crazy? I'm wearing this badge. Why do I want to see Starfleet fail? Maybe I want to see the villain win, so that I know they're a threat and not a joke. This is Come Let's Away, the episode where we find out that Braka, spoilers, might be a little bit too much for us to handle. Call Starfleet stupid, incompetent. He's still winning. That's got to be worth something, and it was worth something to me. I was so excited when this episode began, and we got past the sexual embrace scene at the beginning between Tarima and Caleb Mir. If you know your Star Trek, you knew that once they do that, and she's a Betazoid, they're going to have a mental connection so far. They're going to be able to talk to each other a little bit in their mind. What's that word? Imzadi? I have a Star Trek book here called Imzadi. I think that's a Betazoid people call their loved one or something like that. Maybe I'm jumping the gun with that term between Caleb Mir and Tarima, but you get the point. It factors in later, so that's why it's at the beginning. The mental connection, remember that? They're kind of psychic, although back in the day, full Betazoids were very, very psychic, as in they could just talk to each other through their mind. They would accidentally read your mind all the time. And the game here now is kind of like, these people are full Betazoids, but they don't seem to be that way. At least Tarima's brother is not. But remember that Tarima is special. She has that little implant that limits her psychic abilities. Otherwise, she might hurt people, as she did her father, I believe. And her brother has no such implant, therefore his psychic ability is not as high. The doctor explains there's some kind of chemical reason for this. It's not very important for this review, so I won't really go into that. Just know that Tarima is special. But there's also another character who is special, and that is Caleb Mir. Caleb Mir, the master hacker. The person who knows everything about Starfleet but hates Starfleet. The person who knows all this legal precedents. The person who knows all the rules and such. The person who's also a great debater. I don't want to say he's one of those characters who can do no wrong and they're just magic and they're just good at everything. I don't want to go that far, but he does prove his master of all trades moniker in this episode again, because we are doing a crisis response training mission. Thank you. This is what I wanted. I got to this scene and I was like, yes, finally we're doing some Starfleet Academy stuff. Yes, we're seeing inexperienced people deal in test situations. Crisis response. We have to activate an old ship, the U.S.S. Miyazaki. We have to get it back online. It uses this thing called the Singularity Drive. No, not the one that the Romulans have, I don't think. This one is from what they say, ostensibly, 120 some years ago. I think that's what they say. But it looks a lot older than that. If you look at the bridge module, it looks like it's straight out of Strange New Worlds. I think they're kind of kit bashing some different 3D models here and trying to pass it off as something more recent than it is. Although the ship, to me, looked like it could have been from, I don't know, longer than 120 some years ago, but not back into Strange New Worlds territory. I will say that. Remember, we are very far in the future. Did they make a mistake when they set this in 3100 and something? Was that a little bit too far? Methinks they're going back and rethinking this and thinking, man, we should have set this in 2900 or something like that, maybe, or even earlier than that. I'm starting to wonder because these ships are looking kind of old. The U.S.S. Miyazaki looks older than it probably should look. But we have to go on board A Team, B Team, Blue, Red Team, what have you. Starfleet Academy and the War College are going to be working together, as they should, to power up the Miyazaki and simulate drills on crisis response. You see the U.S.S. Miyazaki, in testing its singularity drive, experienced a cascading system failure. No, it didn't blow up. Somehow a failure in its engine caused one system to fail after another until the entire crew was lost. Don't think about it too hard. All these problems with this episode lie in the nitpicking, lie in the technical things. Like, I would think if a ship's engine, its warp core, if you will, were to fail and it was experimental, it would definitely kill everyone because the ship exploded. Not because we had one tiny system failure that led to another one that led to another one. Left the ship intact mostly, but killed the crew. What happened? Did it make the life support system immediately evacuate into space and suffocate everyone? More details are needed here. For the detail-oriented viewer, you're going to want a little bit more here. Such is the case for a lot of these Academy episodes, but this one in particular, for me, that was bothering me. Is it a factor in this review? Like I said, it's a little bit nitpicky. Caleb Meir goes on board this ship, the U.S.S. Miyazaki, and because he is Caleb Meir, and like I said before, he is special, he's able to restart the power in like a second. He opens up a little box. The first one he walks by, I don't know how. It's just right there. Whoops, it's right there. He opens it up and he puts some kind of wrappage on a cord, and the power just comes back. You're telling me Caleb Meir is so special he can walk up and find the first thing they see, and he can just touch it and fix it? Yeah. Anyway, our another character, our Vulcan character from the War College, you may remember from past episodes, Bavi, mentions that he loves the U.S. Miyazaki because he read about it in the comic book. And Caleb Meir wastes no time in complaining about that because he calls it propaganda for the Federation. Shut up! I just wanted to I wanted to make him feel not good when he said that. And our commanding officer in this situation, our immediate superior, Tomov, does not take offense to Caleb Meir bashing the Federation in this comic book and the legacy of the U.S.S. Miyazaki here. He doesn't complain. I guess Caleb Meir doesn't understand that the Federation is fighting people who would not afford him that freedom. He does not understand that. He's too immature. Although I think he's over the age of 15. I think he's been through a lot in life, according to what they say. He's probably been tortured. He's been through a lot of prisons. It doesn't sound like it. Caleb Meir, Bavi, our ally, says how much he's inspired by this comic book, Tales from the Frontier or whatever. And this mission is special to Bavi because it's about that ship that was in this comic book. And Caleb Meir is so smart and wonderful. He just dunks all over it. And I love it. My hero, Caleb. You're my hero. I love you. Anyway, with that personal feeling aside, they are able to get this ship back online. They do get to the bridge. But we have guests. We have some unexpected guests. Aliens called the Furies, which waste no time in introducing themselves as comically evil cannibal terrifying aliens. They look scary, they act scary, and they want to eat you. Call it silly, call it stupid, call it inane. But I was kind of digging the simplicity of it. I was kind of digging the fact that there's genuine monsters everywhere. Uh-oh, what now? And our students are involved, and it's real. It's not a trick. For a while, I was trying to pick up on hints that this was a prank. Not a prank, this was a test scenario. Like, they wanted to, make them experience fear, Kobayashi Maru style, but that was not the case. Actually, I would have really liked the episode if this was all fake, but it wasn't. And they do not get the cadets off the bridge. The cadets are still operating the bridge on the Athena. A-Team, B-Team, that kind of thing. It's mostly still in effect. This is the first instance of some cascading bad decisions on behalf of Starfleet writ large, because Admiral Vance is involved, that I can't help but wonder if the level of failure we experienced is not the type of thing that would get Vance fired or ejected from Starfleet. Would not get Nahla ejected or Kelrek, because this is so bad that it's the type of thing where I would be fearing for my position in Starfleet. I would be a little bit scared of what was happening here if I was actually there. But alas, nothing of the sort seemed to pass. I have not seen the future episodes because I don't have a time machine. But methinks that a lot of the lessons here learned, Mariner and Lower Deck style, are not going to really land. They're not going to really hit home for our characters. We experience death, but I have a sneaking suspicion that our character arcs are just going to kind of reset next episode, and we're going to go back to the way we were. I'm sorry, you don't go back to the way you were after this happened. I know. Okay? You're a child, and then something happens, and it makes you, serious now. It makes you, the innocence is over. I'm in Starfleet now, and, the wide-eyed view with the rose-tinted glasses I have had at things, one way or another, has now been removed from me, and I am now in the pragmatic state of trying to reduce the amount of death. Okay, and you take life a lot more seriously when this happens, and once you see its fragility, once you see it leaving, you now appreciate it more. And I think a lot of these characters should probably be very different following this episode. I think they're not going to be, because I've seen how Lower Decks operate, although that was an animated comedy. I have a feeling they're not going to know the difference when they continue to write these episodes. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm not psychic, but characters who might be psychic would be Tarima, and she is involved in protecting our characters on the bridge of the U.S.S. Miyazaki from the Furies who are trying to get in. They're trying to break through the force field so they can actually consume our characters. We're worried about getting eaten. You see, the computer of the Miyazaki can't be turned on because it's been offline for so long. It's on the fritz. It's been on the fritz forever, I suppose. But our characters have special powers. In Sam is a computer on her own, right? But she's a holographic being. She puts her hand into the console and is interfacing directly with the computer, trying to argue with it to turn back on. We're arguing with the computer. No, the crew of the Miyazaki is dead. We're the new crew. We need help now. Please acknowledge. And we're doing this while we're being, ensconced by Furies. Back on the Athena, they realize there's only one way out of this. Although I'm loath to admit it, Admiral Vance suggests Braka, our enemy from episode 1. Remember that episode so long ago? In fact, something at the pit of my stomach is telling me you could probably just ignore episode 2, 3, 4 and just and 5 and just watch 1 and 6 and kind of get where we are. You probably don't need to watch those episodes. Although, if there's any failing in this episode, it's that it just kind of plays out like a Discovery episode. My complaints of episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5, it saddens me, but a lot of my complaints were just that they were kind of high school antics. Is that what the show is supposed to be? Am I complaining about what the show was intentionally designed to do? And when I say that I like this episode more, am I just saying I wanted another episode of Discovery? I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm just one person, and all I can do is tell you how I feel. And how I feel was this episode was a little bit better than our usual offering from Starfleet Academy. So, you don't have to skip episode 2, 3, 4, and 5. But it looks like you could if you had just watched episode 1 and this, because this is the adventure of Braka, the annoying, crazy, out there pirate character that he is. Admiral Vance suggests getting help from Braka because Braka knows the secret to beating the Furies. It turns out to beat the Furies because they are related to bats somehow and have sensitive hearing. The trick, according to Braka, was sonic weaponry. I don't know how that works in space. Like, that'll work if we can get up close with them. But I don't know if sonic weaponry will work in space to repel their ship. Although that doesn't really matter, as we'll find out later. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. If they had explained it more, like maybe we launch a probe that binds itself to the hull of the ship and then pounds on it to kind of push through the internal atmosphere of the ship, a kind of pulse, because that's what sound is, right? That's what a sonic weapon would be, causing pulsation. Or is that even a word? I don't know. Of the internal atmosphere that already has a pressure to it, so that they can feel it on their eardrum, and I guess that's how you beat them. Braka drags this out. He makes this take forever, and something makes me feel that maybe Paul Giamatti, the actor portraying Braka, was just kind of ad-libbing it. It feels like they just said, Paul Giamatti, go crazy, and they do not waste any time here. They allow him a huge swath of the episode's runtime to just kind of wax poetic and chew the scenery, and frankly annoy Nahla and me, and probably you, with a diatribe about his life, how much he hates Starfleet, this and that, words that are, words that we wouldn't use in Starfleet normally, except that we do in Academy. I feel annoyed. I don't like Braka. Is that a good thing? He's the villain, and I came out of this episode hating him. So that's good. Back in episode 1, kids these days, he felt like he got away based purely on luck. Starfleet and Braka felt equally stupid in that episode. That doesn't really feel like it's the case here. Although it could be a little bit contrived, you could say that some of these things will require foreknowledge, as in maybe they're psychic on behalf of Braka in order to plan these things out. But you see Braka asks for, I want you guys to shut down your supply of dilithium to, Tejeda. There's some system called Tejeda, and there's a wormhole between Tejeda 1 and Tejeda 4 that Braka was controlling the flow of traffic through, and that's how he was making his money, per se. And he wanted, now that Starfleet is supplying dilithium to one of them, they can just warp between them, and they don't need the wormhole. And he wants them to change that, and I think they kind of agree, which is remarkable that Starfleet would ever consider stopping supply to a colony somewhere for any reason, unless that reason was very, 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 very big. This is not, we're losing some students. Terrible, I know, but needs of the one, needs of the many, needs of the few. You know the line. That line actually is uttered in this episode. They say, some character, Bavi, the Vulcan character, says, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Or the one, he says, or the one, from The Wrath of Khan. Interesting bit of lore there. Not exactly a deep cut, but he did say, or the one. So there you go. He says this in response to the fact that their commanding officer, Tomov, sacrificed himself to get them on the bridge. Tomov was sadly eviscerated by the Furies, but that was a while ago. How are we going to stop these Furies? Braka's help, is he going to help us? He eventually agrees, and there's another space station. What is it, J-19, J-9? I can't remember exactly. The U.S.S. Sargasso, which, as they say, is Intrepid class. Yeah, Intrepid. It looks like Voyager, but it's not. And it's Intrepid class, 900 and some years after the fact. So it's the Intrepid we know as in the U.S.S. Voyager. But with detached nacelles, it's defending, and I guess it's the only ship defending this space station, because it leaves that station to attack the Furies, where we are in our training U.S.S. Miyazaki training simulation with a sonic weapon. And what they do say is that station has classified weaponry. So it would be very bad if that station was left unprotected. And it was when the U.S.S. Sargasso left to protect us from these aliens that we cannot see. They are cloaked, you see, very important. Genesis on the bridge of the U.S.S. Athena deduces that by the spread of the debris, you could calculate maybe where their ship was. And really, to be frank with you, what Genesis and what Reymi do on the bridge of the U.S.S. Athena is largely pointless. It solves nothing. We know that there's a cloaked ship somewhere. We don't know where, and it turns out to not matter because there's a big surprise waiting for us when we eventually get our plan together and figure out what we're going to do. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to get the warp core or the singularity core, what have you, of the USS Miyazaki online so we can activate the navigational deflector that it has. If we can use the deflector, we can push away the field around the ship so that we can beam our cadets out. Good enough plan, right? You know it's a good plan because it involves a deflector. Welcome to Star Trek. We gotta do something with the deflector. Hey, it's deflector time. Yeah, everyone's favorite part of the ship is the deflector. But we need to, number one, we need to talk to the USS Athena, figure out how we get this back online. And number two, we have to do it before the Furies come to eat us, to pick our bones clean. To get the ship back operational, its computer, I should say, we actually put the comic book, we asked the computer to reference the comic book. It reads the comic book and finds out that the crew of the USS Miyazaki has died. That's how it finds out. That's how we tie the comic book from earlier into the plot today. Is that far-fetched? Is that out there for you? That the computer couldn't just be told they're dead? It has to read it from a comic book. And if you look at this comic book, the characters therein, they look like something from TOS. I don't know if they just forgot or it was a miscommunication between different teams developing this episode. They got the totally wrong outfit on. If this was 100 and some years before this episode of Starfleet Academy, they would not look like they were from TOS. So we got TOS looking characters on a ship that it's in the body, it looks like it could be from a few hundred years ago. But it uses a bridge module that looks like it could be from 1,000 years ago. There's like 3 different mismatching properties to the USS Miyazaki. So it really makes one wonder. It makes one go, more little nitpicking problems. But maybe we can save it in our general surface level plot. Tarima takes her node out and uses her advanced psychic capabilities to talk directly to Caleb Meir and tells him, you need to get the core back online and use the deflector to take the jamming field down so we can beam you out. That's what you need to do. You need to know about a thing called butterflies or something, or fireflies. Okay, fireflies, remember that. There's something about that. And then he's like, oh, okay, yeah, Bavi, I need you to do X, Y, and Z with the singularity core. Okay. And they turn it on, and they see little lights flickering on the screen. And then Sam actually says butterflies, fireflies, whatever it is. It's all very inane. I don't even know why they said it. They said it just so that they can say it. I don't know what it really means. Nonetheless, they do get this. They do get it activated. But the Furies do break through the force field, and they do kill Bavi. They kill our Vulcan friend from the War College, who was fighting with Caleb Meir earlier, although Bavi was not fighting back. Much more mature. And Caleb Meir is right there to see it. I imagine Caleb Meir has seen a lot of death in his life, but this one looks like it looks like he's taking it hard. So hopefully we're going to see some unfortunate advancement in his character development, although that remains to be seen, and I have my doubts if they're going to do that. We do beam out from the USS Miyazaki, and we find out the big twist for this episode. Braka was working with these Furies. This was all a ruse. he was feeding them to the Furies to get them off his back. And the little inkling in Nahla Akke's mind that something was wrong turned out to be a big inkling. As in, we got out of this losing some people. Braka won, and he got to ravage the space station that the Sargasso left to help us. Remember that space station with all the classified weapons on it? Guess who's taking that over now? Braka has ransacked the entire station. A lot of people have died, and the ship that was around in the Academy training ground that was cloaked decloaks, and it turns out to be the Venari Ral. That's not the name of the ship. I think that's the name of his organization, and it's right there. The big spinning spiky green thing, so you know it's a villain ship. It was right there all along, and we played directly into Braka's hands. And we have an awful downer ending as we have to drape our United Federation of Planets flag over the body of Bavi and come to terms with what we've done, our mistakes. Admiral Vance says it was my call. Oh no. We look down at the floor, and with indignation, we declare that Braka is now the most wanted man in the Federation. For our mistake, or not, we did see our villain win. We did see our villain outsmart our heroes. So now we got stakes, and now we got a reason to hate him, and I hate him. And I just want to bring him to justice. Okay, I want to give him a fair trial. Okay, he wouldn't afford you that, but maybe I'll afford him that, and we'll see what plays out because of it. Okay, he's gonna have a great time in a Federation penal colony that's basically paradise, but he won't be able to hurt anyone else. That boat wraps up. Come, let's away. The 6th episode of Starfleet Academy, Star Trek Starfleet Academy. That is. This episode musically, big boredom. I couldn't hear anything. This one's kind of deaf. I imagine there was some thumping, pulse-pounding action music that you would usually expect from a franchise or episode like this, although it already left my mind. Plot-wise, something was happening. It happened because Starfleet made a lot of mistakes. Wow, we did not thoroughly examine this academy training area that we're sending our students to. Wow. Whoa, Braka is physically on the Athena, and we allowed him to be in the same room alone with the captain. Whoa, we allowed him to get within an inch of her face? That's interesting. We don't think for a moment that he could be up to something. We don't cover our tracks. We leave the other space station alone. The Sargasso leaves that station after Admiral Vance said they had multiple ships 1 light year away or something like that. Really? I don't know. Like I said before, the meta angle here. Episode 1. They're both stupid. And Braka gets away. This episode must be better because one of them was stupid and the other one was wise. I guess you could call them wise, although their enemy wasn't really much of a challenge. One of them was normal and one of them was stupid. So is it better? I'm seeing something happen. It's a lot better than nothing. It's a lot better than boredom. And it's definitely a lot better than an episode of Vitus Reflux. Thematically, it pains me to say it, Braka is around to tell you the theme. I was starting to enjoy thinking of the theme, and then Braka is so kind to tell us what it is. He says to Nahla Akke, your son died on a ship not unlike the Miyazaki for similar reasons, and you abandoned him to stay with your ship. You abandoned your son to protect your crew members. Now, it's the opposite. You got your boy back, Caleb Meir, but a lot of people died. Before, you traded one to save many. Now you are saving one to kill many, right? I wish I could come up with that. I would have enjoyed thinking that right now. But I didn't get to, because Braka said it out loud in this episode. Don't tell me, you should just show me, and then allow me to come up with the ideas on my own. You see, that gives the episode replay power, right? It makes it so it rewards repeat viewings, except that's kind of taken away now, sadly. I can say that the theme is there, but I can say that they kind of spoiled it. So we're winning on our plot. Thematically, there's something there. Musically, it's all right. Visually, when I said musically, I mean all right. I mean, there's nothing there really amazing, which is what I expect from Star Trek. Visually, we get to see the U.S.S. Miyazaki. We get to see that comic book, although it's a strange mishmash of multiple time periods, and I don't know how to make heads or tails of it. Although, that comic book, I'm curious about seeing it up close. They should release scans of it, if they physically have it, or have the file. I have a feeling that, this is just a theory, but the way that comic looked and how they didn't really show it too closely, I had this strange feeling that maybe a human didn't make it. I could be wrong. I'm not making the claim, I'm just saying I have a feeling. I'd like to see it up close. I'd like to be able to examine it. I don't know. That's the exact type of thing that they would just, generate. But I'm not making any claims, but I had that feeling. Do you know better than me? I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you got this far. The Miyazaki, like I said, strange. Other visual elements, kind of strange. They covered up a lot of the bridge. They didn't really want you to see that it was a redress, I think, of the Strange New Worlds bridge, but I'm not really sure on that. We got to be in space. We got to see some aliens. Some ships were around. So visually, I can't really call it a dud. It's given me just enough of what I want, and partially why I like this episode, writ large, is because it was giving me some Star Trek stuff. We have a mission. There's aliens. We need to beat them. But I have reservations. Do I like this because it's not like Academy? Right? The episodes of Academy have been fooling around in school. So far, I didn't really like that very much. But am I not liking it based on what it's supposed to be? And am I now liking it based on something it's not? It's very odd. Months ago I said, could this show just be Discovery too? This episode kind of feels like space adventure action show, which I also said the same thing about the first episode. I called it space adventure show, sci-fi action show. And this is another one, and I kind of liked it. Is that a problem? Anyway, I'm going to have to go ahead and begrudgingly give this episode a 6 out of 10. This was the first episode so far in this season where I wasn't incessantly checking the time over and over and over again to see when it was over. I was kind of actually paying attention. Imagine that. Anyway, I'm Lieutenant Merrick, and I'm going to see you next time I see you in what is fastly approaching the end of Starfleet Academy Season 1. That is Episode 7, which will be our next one. So long.